Oh, how's that? Is that better?
Yeah, but
It's so weird. Sometimes that happens where the microphone in my setup sometimes does that. I don't know why. Sorry about that.
don't worry about it. So good news, bad news. Bad news is I don't think I want to keep continue Creature in the Ice because while I understand all your talking points about it, I just hate writing it right now.
Okay.
It is
That's fair, yeah.
it is extremely boring. I'm extremely slow at writing it. Like we can probably keep it up like maybe once a month type thing, but
Totally.
I don't want to be spending like our classes on that. I'd rather spend them on something I at least enjoy.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I
No,
decide
I'm
I decided to
happy
go
to
back to the
switch gears.
BPA and write it as a light novel type thing and dump it on Royal Road.
Yeah. Yeah, no, totally. That's absolutely no problem to do that. Can you still hear me okay?
Yeah, I can still hear you.
Yeah. Um Yeah, no, anytime you want to make a switch, no problem at all. And you may go back and forth. I've got one student who literally flips sort of between two projects, not because he's a flip flopper, but because he sort of has sort of rising and falling interest, much like you're describing. So totally, I'm here for you to deal with whatever you want to deal
Yeah,
with.
yeah. Like I mean, I understand the benefit of the uh I understand the mainstream appeal of Creature in the Ice. I just really don't enjoy it myself, so it's hard to decide
Yeah,
what to write.
no, totally. Yeah, I love that. No, do what you love for sure. Okay, well, let me, and I love, by the way, what you sent me here. So I'm just going to pull this up. This was really fun to read. Um, it's almost all blue. There's only a couple of suggestions. Mostly what I'm going to suggest, if you're comfortable with me just kind of going through this,
Mm-hmm.
all the only thing I'm going to suggest is there's one place where I feel it kind of lags a little bit, and otherwise it's tight, it's scary, it's tense. It was just a real pleasure to read. So great opening, and I know, and because I have familiarity with the story, and I know exactly what this scene is in the stuff we've looked at in the
Mm-hmm.
past. Um, it was great. So it wasn't, I was positioned quite well for that. Felt again, it has this sort of Stranger Things ish opening that I love. Is it
Yeah,
Stranger Things that shows the guy running down the
yeah.
hallway to get on the
That was the
elevator?
thing I originally ripped off. Remember?
Yeah, and what I love is that um, you this is a good ripoff to me. This is the right kind of ripoff because yes, he's running down the hall. Yes, there's blood and signs of total chaos and carnage and everywhere, and he's running towards that elevator. But then from that point on, it's substantially different, similar but different to Stranger Things, and especially considering he then goes into the next,
Yeah.
moves on from there.
It has the same thematic vibe, but not necessarily the same scene.
Yeah, and other things I've done like 28 Days Later has a bit of a vibe like this, and the Thing has a vibe like this. Um, what I love is not only is what's happening interesting and tense, but the way you've written it is really really engaging. I feel like your writing gets noticeably better each time we look at stuff, but the way you're writing this is good. Richard opened his bleary eyes, the elevator light stung his eyes. It's little things like that you want to make sure that we don't later
Yeah.
on. This would be a touch of, say eyes
I
twice and
Yeah.
things.
Part of the main reason why I decided to switch to this more than anything else is because I've been having this idea for a while, and last night I came home after work and I decided to do this, and I spent 3 hours, just 3 hours last night, and I pumped this out versus the week of work I spent on trying to get Creature in the Ice, and it's not improved. You can tell like how much of a difference that is. Like
Yeah.
so, production wise, it's more efficient just to write this stuff because I pumped this out in 3 hours. I didn't feel so. I feel a lot better about my writing now.
Yeah, go where the energy flows. Absolutely, go where the energy flows. It's perfect. So I love this. All of this is good. Little thing moving forward. Richard forced himself to start walking. I was a little confused by if he's moving forward. Isn't he already starting to walk?
I was kind of
Um,
thinking like mentally, but yeah, your point stands.
oh, moving forward. Okay, like I see what you're saying. I might just start with
Yeah,
Richard forced himself to
like I
start
said,
walking.
I literally just bumped this out in 3 hours, and I didn't take any time to edit. I just thought I want to do this.
Yeah, absolutely. So the pace was so wicked and so tight and felt so organic that I was like, oh my God, like Hayden is just killing it here and still killing it. The only time I felt like it stalled, and it's not because it's bad or wrong, is going into the degree of gore description. Um, I'm totally okay with that. I love gore, like blood and guts and eyeballs all day long.
Well, I couldn't really just say it squished them because, like, then we don't. The point is that the base is under attack. These are horrifying monsters, and that they are just massacring these people on the like with
Mhm.
basically minimal risk to themselves.
What I would probably do if I could make a suggestion, I think I would, if it was me, I would advise you to get rid of the soft light healing and the low level spell at this only here, and only because, and again, not because I think you need to. If you want to keep it and it's important, keep it, because you are doing such a good job of focusing my mind and my emotions on the fear of this moment and the fact that there is a monster, whatever this thing is, running through here. What it
Hmm.
felt like, there was a bit of the old tendency, and I say this is in a
I created
complimentary
a
way,
hiccup
but
in the flow.
to want to add more to, like, no, 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 less is more in a scene like this. Let the thing flow. And the same thing. So the spell and the gore is not an issue. My suggestion to the problem is what it feels like we're doing is we stop for one, two, nearly two full pages, waiting for the gore, or the sort of the evisceration and the gore to stop. It probably won't translate as to two full pages because these are double spaced, obviously. But I thought, oh, it kind of stopped, and I was sort of like, okay, let me know when the gore is over. Oh, okay, he's moving on, because it's all about Richard's response to this. Like, it's cool. I want a little bit of evisceration and gore. Like, like, I don't mind, like, for example, like, popped her head off like a cherry. Like, Stephen, the thing I love about good horror writers is that they can imply uh buckets of blood without having to say buckets of blood. And they trust that the imagination of the reader is enough, because if he says they resisted and the monster came along and popped her head off like a cherry, that is so gross to me. And it's so much grosser than to say popped her head off like a cherry. He could see her spine and the blood flew everywhere and the muscles. Like, oh, now you're taking away from it, describing it. Like, it's way more
Let the
exciting and
imagination.
horrifying. Let the imagine, because what that also does, because you can do that and let the imagination run wild, keep the pace. Because the thing is like Richard, I love this sort of sense of time kind of standing still. And Richard's like, I love this. Richard didn't know how long he waited watching the monsters eat his coworkers. If it's a long description and then it says that, me as the reader is going, yeah, I don't know how long I'm going to have to wait for this to be over too. Like, is this we're going to move? I like this, but let's move on. Whereas if you shorten the description, head like a cherry, or however you want to describe that, and then say the exact same thing, Richard didn't know how long he waited watching. Like, but what I love that writers do is when it's a short description and then that said, because what that's saying to me is this probably wasn't a very long time, but to him, time seemed to stand still, as he's as everybody who's ever been really scared or really angry knows that, like, reality seems to go boo 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 boo, like just do weird shit in our heads, right? And I like the idea that, show me that this monster is just plowing through these guys pretty quickly. It's a matter of seconds, very few
I
pages.
think in the
And then,
rewrite, I'm going to give Jeffrey a handgun and have him shoot the monster a few times.
mhm, give them conventional weapons. Give me the magic later. I want to know about the magic, just not now, because right now you're giving me a lot to chew on without bringing in spells that I don't really know about anyway.
Yeah, fair
Not yet.
enough.
Um, and I think with that one little, kind of, in my opinion, my fix, get through, plow through the blood and the guts a little simpler, a little briefer, then back onto him. And because what I love is that eventually he works up the courage to leave, and I continue to follow him through this. The alert, oh, hid underneath the massive desk. The Richard stared at the creature in the monitor. This is so fucking scary. This is so great what you've written here. And it's sort of like he sees this go on and he would think, okay, is Richard gonna, the thing I love is that in this, I'm like, okay, Richard, keep going. Like, Richard, everybody's dying, everybody's getting killed. Is Richard gonna make it out of this thing alive? And so he's like, yeah, I'm pretty sure he's not. But it's kind of fun to see him hanging in there. And he said, I got nothing to say. I realized he was crying. He didn't want to die. Easily one of my favorite things that you've ever written, because it shows an emotional intuitiveness in it. You haven't just gone for describing what's happening. You've gone right into his heart and his soul. Richard realized he was crying. He didn't want to die. Boom. That's a perfect example of concision. You say so much with so little in that one sentence,
Hmm.
and you get into his heart, because of course this is how he feels. And I feel that trauma. It's like head popping, head popped like a cherry. You don't need to describe any more than that, because crying because he wants to die, my imagination is working. Of course, that's how Richard's feeling. He is absolutely terrified by what he sees. And then the way it ends, holy shit, man. This is the best opening you've ever written. This is very strong, very fun to read. I couldn't put it down. The only thing I was mad about is that it ended. So great job. So if that's how you open, and the great thing is like the fact that you go from one thing to another, like you have this whole him running, and then here come his two friends who immediately get eviscerated by this monster. Like that's great all by itself. But then there's more. He goes in and he's still trying to send a message, and you've got the whole alert thing. And, and then suddenly he realizes, oh my God, the monster's in the room with me, which is terrifying after he's already tried to reach out. This whole thing, he's describing what's going on. You drop in the paranormal activity station 1138, which we need to hear that, which is great, which was there before, but it's good. Station breach. Now, when we get to the crew, the whole crew that's going to come in and start dealing with this, we'll see Julius, we'll see all those guys later. You've laid some serious stakes out here for me. I feel like I cared about. That's the other thing I was going to say. I care about Richard. Holy shit! And like, you only did this in 6 pages, and I actually care about this guy because I don't know him at all, and yet I feel like I can completely connect with him because you've taken me on a journey with him. I have been with Richard I was with Richard while he watched this go on. I was feeling what Richard was feeling, and I went with him into the next room, and I sent the message with him, and then I realized there was a monster in there with me, and I was with him as he choked his last breath. Like, if you can keep doing this, where the action is compelling, I'm getting inside the heart and head of these characters, it feels real, it's well written, and keep me moving like this, you're onto something. I love this. This was just the funnest thing you've ever sent me to read.
I'm glad to hear that. Now, quick few questions. First off, what was his name? The one who's Julia, Jack, or John, whichever one is the ride along guy. What's his name? I can't.
Jack.
Yeah, Jack.
Jack.
Should I keep Jack or should I replace him with another character? Her name is Sarah. She is the more I guess like feminist archetype-esque character. Let's see. She has volcano powers, a disease that will kill her around 40, and part of my reasoning is that she becomes a more. My original plan for her was after Jack left, she becomes a more integral part of Julius's life because, like, it's partially for jokes because, like, she's like a 21st century feminist. Julius was born like after World War II, so.
I'm a fan of that. I mean, here's so long as I was nervous at first when you said, should I get rid of Jack? I said, no, but then you said replace it. Oh, okay. Because what's so long as, unless there's a better idea that you've come up with since, assuming you're still going to go with the idea that the function of whoever this person is, whether it's Jack or her, and let's talk about her in a minute. The whole point of the whole value, the emotional value of Jack was to give Julius someone to care about and feel like, just when we thought he'd become immune to all this, he bicker, these two don't get along, and slowly through the shit they go through, they come to an understanding. Oh, yeah. Would you still do those things with her?
Yeah, and I think that might actually work better because Sarah's 2 big points is that, for starters, she has a disease that will result in her death at roughly it'll cut her effective lifespan in half, whatever it is. So, like, 40, 50 years old, she's going to kick the bucket. And her magical power set lets her, she basically has volcano powers, which allows her to basically steamroll a lot of her opponents and makes her really cocky. So that when she faces opponents that can actually go toe-to-toe with her, she tends to get pulverized. And she's also, like, overly arrogant and tends to jump in instead of, waiting for some thought-out plan. She's very much like the wizard fighter archetype if Julius is like your ranger rogue.
I am a huge fan of this woman for several reasons. Number one, she's a woman. And I think your story, it's not about being politically correct. It's about that's really shallow. It would be really shallow. I'm not saying you. It would be, sometimes I'll say, "Hey, I love, yeah, put a woman in here." Oh, to be politically correct? No, 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 no. I mean, partly, sure. Like if you want to broaden your audience, yeah, why don't you want the broadest audience
Yeah,
possible?
that's the other
But don't.
reason. Like
Yeah, of
she
course.
was always going to understand. She was always going to be a character. It's just like my original plan was to have Jack for season one, then have him go off and do his own shit in a spin-off, and then replace it with Sarah and a bunch of other characters.
Yeah, I like her. I think the feminist angle, in contradistinction to Julius's old schoolness, huge fan of that. I loved some of the things you've described about her, that she's got like super strengths and massive Achilles heels. Like she's
Yeah.
got, sounds like she's got strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah, her disease basically works by she gets double the power that she'd normally have as a human at the cost of half of her effective lifespan.
Okay. Ooh, I love that. Yeah. So okay, good.
Yeah.
So you only get so much gas in the tank, and if you use it all up early, then
Yeah.
you're done.
Also, she has to
Uh,
eat like a ton, so I'm gonna make her like an anime character and order like 10 steaks at a dinner.
so she's like the Flash. Um, no, I
Uh,
love this.
More like the Hulk, but yeah.
Fair. Um, no, I'm a fan. Run with it. So long as again, do it. It's your story, so don't do anything ever to make me happy. But at the same time, if that really strong emotional core that you put at the center of Jack and Julius's relationship as your story evolved, that's always been to me the saving grace of the story that made me care
Mhm.
about it.
Yeah, my problem with Jack and Julius though was that while it was a relationship, it was also a very professional relationship.
Mm,
So Jack's power set meant that there was never really going to be a time when one of them ran into a scene and did something incredibly stupid. Like Sarah's power set at least justifies her doing stupid shit.
fair.
If your abilities is to draw out magical formations to create effects, then you're not going to charge in front of 50 guys with guns and say Leroy Jenkins.
That's a great point. Yeah, there's more of a, sounds like there's more of a rogue element with her.
Yeah. And
Well,
yeah,
yeah,
and part of the thing I do later on also is that Sarah kind of gets recommended to join the superhero squad of America and all that jazz. So there's also that going for her.
very cool.
Until we get to Lazarus, that's great because he literally massacres the entire superhero squad and then goes onto an army base and kills everyone there. So
Here, I'm just gonna make some notes here. Yeah, no, I think that's fantastic. I was gonna say too, I think
yeah,
your strengths, here, I mean, with fiction writing, I think this is just super interesting. I think you can nail a script too, but
mhm.
yeah, I think having this in novel form and a book form prior
Well,
to,
it's cheaper to get a book out than it is to get a movie.
and and easier.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. No, I'm a fan. I think this is great. I think you're onto something. I'm looking forward to seeing her, and I've just
Yeah.
sent you notes
Oh,
for them.
quick question. Ethnicity and yeah, ethnicity. Any recommendations you want to pitch?
I mean, nothing specific except that I would go for. I mean, the way I look at your story, I would avoid reference to any ethnicity and let the director and casting make that choice. For example, no, except that you're talking about a fiction.
Yeah.
If you're talking about spelling it out here, nothing specific. I would mix it up. That's all I would say. Don't have everybody be white or any particular. If people want to accuse you of tokenism, I would take it. They're like, who cares what people think? And the reality is the world is a
Yeah.
mix, so make it a mix.
I was thinking
I
like
would.
some like Wonder Woman, Diana type stuff, like Mediterranean build.
Sure. I mean, I'm ultimately a fan of picking ethnicities or nationalities that help the story.
Mm.
So if it's useful to have somebody from a certain part of the world, because that comes into the story, then go for that.
Yeah.
If that isn't a factor and you just need to mix it up ethnic wise, sure.
I do that, and then I add a healthy dose of who is my audience, and is it more or less beneficial to change the protagonist based on that? Because
Hmm.
I'm not sure if you ever did see it, the new 4400 TV show series.
Hmm.
Yeah, all the main cast is black. Like
Nice.
all the white guys are racist in it, so it's a very much of a turnoff for someone who isn't black.
Yeah, let me know what you come up with there. I think that you could have a lot of fun with that. I love, but all of these, I love that you've gone with Sarah. I love that you switched over to the BPA. I love what you wrote, and I think that it feels like you've got a good solid handle on what the story is, and it's something you're
Okay.
more interested in.
One more question. I have a few ideas. After this, should I transition over to Julius and some guys like looking over a camera feed, like they receive this as like video, and that's what we switch to after this, or do you think I should go with the scenes I already have of Remy and Daphne discussing sending Julius over, and then we cut over to him in the ghoul farm?
That's a good question. I do like the idea. The only issue, not issue is too strong a word. The only question I had before about your original version, where it went from kind of a shorter version of what I just read, right over to it used to go from that almost immediately to Julius in the graveyard, didn't it? Or was there that
No, that there was always that little talking point.
okay? Um, I mean, it depends on where you wanted to go. You're obviously wanting Richard's message to be conveyed because that's the basis for them sending Julius and the team out. Yeah, I mean, if it was me, you could do it where suddenly, we get that last scene where Richard gets eaten, and then suddenly in the safety of the thing, like Independence Day, one of my favorite things is that they're like playing golf and listening to REM's "The End of the World as We Know It," and suddenly it appears that aliens are coming. So you might want to do a casual thing where she's like, in a tanning bed, like, or anything like, or just they're playing cards and they're like betting peanuts or something stupid. But I might have them in the middle of something when and Richard's message is blinking, but the volume's off, so they're not hearing it, right? And they're just doing their own thing. And then suddenly goes, oh shit, we're getting a message from 1138, and they go over and do it that way, rather than just suddenly like immediately go, hey, we just picked up a distress signal. There's nothing wrong with that, but sometimes it's fun to have just a little break. Like we just had this really intense, violent scene, and it's nice. I think it's emotionally nice to go into something, hey, lighthearted and whatever else, and that gets disturbed with what just happened at Richards. That might be how I would go for
Isn't
it.
that how most alien shows go? Like something in space and no one notices it.
Yeah, I mean, you could do that, and you don't have to go with that particular thing, but I don't think anybody will automatically assume you're cribbing that per se, because it's not like it's being like Deep Impact where it like gets ignored for a year, and by then the meteor is already half here, right?
Not quite that bad.
Not quite that bad, but regardless of whether they hear it or not, the idea of something lighthearted and kind of casual, because that represents life on Earth. Like life is kind of going about its routine normally, and suddenly this shit happens remotely and nobody understands but this one group of people the impact of it. And if these people who are in charge are having a poker game or whatever, they're screwing, you can have two people having crazy sex, and that's what I mean. To me, something a little more group is more interesting. But
well, I think
to
we've
have
established that this book's going to be R-rated.
Fair. Yeah, you could do it. I would have a bunch of people from the BPA playing strip poker, and most of them are already either mostly or totally naked. That's hilarious to me. a bunch of naked people, because it's so representative of the fact that these people were caught literally with their pants down when this shit happened, right? They're not ready for it. And that's and it's sort of
a strip poker scene. I don't think I've ever written it, so I'm gonna have to look up some references.
Well, whatever it ends up being, if it's something sort of like that, then it reinforces the idea that the BPA and even Julius, as skilled and capable as they are, nobody was prepared for what happened here.
True. Okay, I think those are some good points. I'm gonna do a quick once over of the prologue tomorrow, and then send that off to you. Then I'm going to do the next chapter with strip poker and possibly send that off to you at some. Yeah. Honestly, my ability to make progress on this is already telling me I'm making the right choice.
Yeah. No. If this is, and I didn't know that you were planning on doing that. If this is indicative of the energy that you're going to put into BPA moving forward, then you did make the right choice to switch back to this, no question.
Also, this is a safer topic. I feel like a good choice for stories because it skips over a lot of the other stuff that my other stories have that might be problematic, but still has all the core goriness, for lack of a better word.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's good. I'm looking forward to it. And for next, I just realized, yeah, we did have it scheduled for 5:30. I thought it was 5 today or whatever. Oh well, we
Yeah.
met early. There you go.
Good enough.
Next week,
Yeah, I'm going to go
what works
see.
for you?
5 o'clock still works for you?
Yeah, 5:30. Yeah, 5 works for me. Do you want to do 5 next week?
5 or 5:30, either one works.
Yeah, let's do
I should
5 for
mention
shits and
a big
giggles.
thing. I've changed my work schedule, so I can do like late mornings or early afternoons again if that's easier for you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'll give that I'll give that some thought. Sorry, I interrupted you too. You said you were going to go see something.
Yeah, I'm gonna go see Doctor Strange tonight. Finally.
Oh, have you? Oh, you haven't been yet.
Nope, still haven't.
Okay. We gotta put aside a good 5 minutes for that next time because I want to know what you thought of it.
Yeah, finally got. I heard the Illuminati comes in, so that's gonna be exciting.
Interesting. Do they? Of course, I'm not going to say anything. No, enjoy. I think you'll really enjoy it. I got to see Tom Cruise in Top Gun. Apparently, that's kicking ass, and I didn't know if I even wanted to see that, but apparently, it's amazing.
I still haven't seen the first Top Gun, so I'll get it when it's out on streaming.
There you go. Awesome. Okay, well, have a good week, and we'll see you 5 o'clock next week.
5 o'clock next week. See you then. Bye.
Take care.